T-Rocks here. Let me introduce you to Twisted Visions Summer 2024. It's a little YouTuber challenge with a bunch of Brisbane YouTubers in it. There's Cam from Cam Carter's Adventures. There's Rebecca from Love, Life and Travel. There's Rob from Walkabout with Rob. There's myself.
T-Rocks here. Hang on. Is that my taxi?
And Adam from the Brisbane channel. And we've got one topic and we've got 10 days to make a 10-minute video on that one topic. Test our creative interpretation to see what we come up with. I think we need to get into it. I better go.
G'day everyone. Well, I'm standing in front of what is arguably the ugliest building in Australia. It's a Queensland Parliamentary Annex on the corner of Alice and George Streets here in Brisbane. It looks like it was designed by a drunk 6-year-old with a blunt crayon. Well, it almost was. It was commissioned under the stewardship of one of Queensland's greatest leaders, a Kiwi-born peanut farmer by the name of Sir Johannes B.L.K. Peterson, who presided over this state for nearly 20 years.
You are putting my words into your mouth.
Now, Sir Joe had a vision for Queensland. Maybe it was a twisted vision perhaps, but he was determined to take Brisbane from a small country town and thrust it into a concrete-clad city of the future. And that future was the 1980s. Well, Cam, I hear you ask, you're not doing anything to convince us that Brisbane buildings aren't ugly. Well, to do that we have to forget about this Soviet-style monstrosity behind me and time slip all the way back to 1865. That was when the foundation stone for one of Queensland's most beautiful buildings was laid. This is the original Queensland Parliament House. It's a huge building built from local sandstone in the French Renaissance style, according to my notes. Originally it had a zinc roof, but that was replaced with Mount Isa copper, which gives it the green tinge that you see here today. Fun fact, Queensland's Parliament House was the first government building in Australia to be powered by electricity. But if you really want to see some classic Queenslander architecture, you had to go forward to 1886 to this building. It's the Bellvue Hotel with its wide verandas and wrought iron filigree. It was a magnificent building. However, back at Parliament House, Sir Joe's vision of 1980s Queensland future didn't include buildings like this. So one night in 1990, the notorious building demolition contractors, the Dean brothers, moved in and bulldozed the Bellevue under the cover of darkness. Well, if you've never heard of the Dean brothers demolition contractors, they're probably most famous for knocking down the old Cloudland ballroom at Bowen Hills. Their motto was, "We leave nothing but memories." But what did they replace the Bellevue with? Well, to match the Queensland Parliamentary Annex, they built a sister building, which ironically has just been demolished to make way for the new Queen's Wharf development. This is the Queensland Treasury building, and I think it's one of the most beautiful buildings in Brisbane. In 1992, after the fiasco of the demolition of the Belvedere and the subsequent bulldozing of the Cloudland Ballroom, the government legislated the Queensland Heritage Act, which was designed to protect these old buildings from destruction. It's good to see the old heritage listed Salvation Army building getting a bit of a makeover. So I've just got into Roma Street Station, and apparently I'm not allowed to take photos or video of the old station because it's a security risk. And now I'm going to tell you how fortunate it is that these old buildings have been protected by the Queensland Heritage Act. Unfortunately, the same can't be true for Central Station. As I look across the road here from the King Edward World War II air raid shelter, it's hard to believe that this site was once a beautiful example of Victorian industrial architecture. And you can still see part of it today. As I walk along Ann Street here, you can see the grand old clock tower and the entranceway. Of course, the Heritage Act didn't exist in 1975, and the council approved a building to literally bury the old central station. The open air railway platforms were concreted over, and a hotel and a car park were built next to the Queensland Rail Office towers. All of course in concrete that was sandstone coloured, so it looked like they actually cared. This is probably my favourite spot in the entire city. It's Anzac Square, and it's 7 o'clock on a Saturday morning. It's hard to believe I'm right in the centre of the CBD. Well, one of the best examples of the Queensland Heritage Act in action is the old Queensland Times building here on Eagle Street, which had to be preserved when they built this multi-storey high-rise development. And this of course is right across the road from the grand old Customs House, possibly one of the top 5 buildings in the state. Well, I'm on the corner of Wharf and Eagle Streets now, and imagine what Brisbane would have looked like if these old buildings here were protected instead of being demolished and replaced by these glass and concrete structures like you see here today. Well, I hope you've enjoyed my version of the twisted visions of Brisbane, and I've been able to dispel the myth that all Brisbane buildings are ugly. True, there are some absolute monstrosities out there, but you can only imagine what Brisbane could have looked like had those old buildings been protected in the past. Please check out the other Brissie YouTubers that are contributing to this project as well. I'll put their link in my description. But as usual, stay safe and have a great day. You can't get more Brissie than the bin chicken.